coming, the sun's zooming in, meltdown expected, the wheat is good there, engines stop running, but I have no fear, 'cause London is drowning. I live by the river.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the By the Minute Arsenal Podcast. I am Matt H, and I'm joined this week by Matt V. Hello, Matt.
Hello. Finally been let out of the cage after an international break that went on for absolutely ages.
Yeah, it does seem a long time since we did one of these, even though it's only, two weeks and a couple of days. We're doing this on the Wednesday before the Ludogorets game. Yeah, they do seem to be dragging on, and with ever less entertainment as well. But
Poor.
there we go. But at least we were back this weekend, and Arsenal were back, and they were back playing Swansea at home, and it was, I was going to say a comfortable win. It wasn't a comfortable win. It doesn't ever seem to be against Swansea. It looked like it should be a comfortable win, but that wasn't the case. So Arsenal did, though, get a 3-2 victory, 3-1 up. With half an hour or so to go, but then conceding a goal with about 25 minutes left, which made for an awkward 25 minutes, which we've seen plenty of times over the years for Arsenal. I have a few thoughts written down, but Matt, what were your views?
Well, I mean, if we're complaining about the international break being boring, this match was many things. Boring wasn't one. The first sort of 35 minutes, we started as we played. Not so much against Burnley, but against Basel and Chelsea, started really well. Looked like we weren't going to have any repeat of our previous struggles against Swansea. I mean, we played well, but the goals were more from pretty poor defending from Swansea, but we were 2-0 up. And then from nowhere, we conceded just before half-time, or about 10 minutes before, which not what you want, but when Ozil scored that volley, you think, right, that's fine. Got back control, well, now we'll see this off. And then again, they sort of scored from nothing. And then the red card.
Yes, now I've got a note about this because I've got, on my notes, I've got Mystic Matt, because you mentioned this, I'm sure it was you, some weeks ago now, I can't remember when it was, but one of our first pods, I thought, about the possibility of Xhaka being a bit of a loose cannon, shall we say, in terms of red cards. Now, I didn't see the game live, but I saw it in the evening. Now, I have to say that whilst he may have that reputation, I loved Arsene's description of it as a dark yellow, because I can't believe he got sent off for a foul in his own half, to be honest, for a straight red as well. I mean, yellow card, absolutely, all day, but a straight red did seem a little harsh.
Yeah, it was just such a strange decision, because you see, I mean, maybe not as blatant as that, but you see people sort of bringing people down on the halfway line pretty much every game. And you just assume there's going to be a yellow card. I'm not sure why it was a red card, because it wasn't out of control. He just sort of knew what he was doing. I don't know if because it looked like he was so far away from the ball and there was just no attempt at all. That's what they thought. But yeah, I don't think, although I have mentioned his record, I think he's been unfairly done against here.
I think that was a bit of an unfair one. I mean, he did also give the ball away, as I recall, for the Swansea first goal, which is probably more of a crime, as it were. But so disappointing to get the red card, and he misses 3 games, I think, for it being a straight red. I guess there's not going to be any appeal. I think we've got enough players to cover. But it's that was a bit of a disappointment. But good. I mean, good to hold on to the win as well, given the situation.
Yeah. Obviously, it's always going to be a tough 20 minutes then. And then after that point, I think nobody really cared about the performance. It was just holding on for the 3 points, which we did through some solid defending and some pretty average Swansea finishing. I think it was Monreal against Barrow.
Yes, I've made a note about Monreal, who someone I've raved about in the past, but he didn't have his best game on this occasion.
It was sort of like, but I think Monreal has enough in the bank to allow him that one.
Yeah, so we lost you for a second there, but yes, I got you back about Monreal having enough in the bank. Yeah, he's had a very good Arsenal career, really. So let's hope that was just a slack afternoon for him. Although that guy does look particularly useful as well, so I think he'll be giving lots of people problems. Sure. The Theo goals were interesting because neither of them were particularly stylish. They were sort of bundled in, which I'm sure aren't the goals he'd like to score. But it was nice in a way to see him do that. Then, of course, in the second half, he actually had a couple of more sort of glorious chances for a nice, neat finish, and a bit of bad luck, bit of lack of ability, dare I say. Hits the woodwork and doesn't quite take the opportunities to get that hat trick.
Yeah, I think with him the ones in the first half didn't really have time to think about it, just instinctive. And those are both great goals. And then I can think of 3 in the second half. The one where he sort of hits it straight at Fabianski, the one where he's unlucky and it hits the inside of the post.
Yeah.
And then the one at the end when it's a 2-on-1 and he manages to somehow hit it over.
Yes. Yeah. He this is where I think you see the evidence of why there's perhaps never that complete confidence in him as a striker. I always think there's been a slight, it's just a personal opinion, but I think there's always been a slight, what's the word I'm looking for really? An overimportance given to this idea of which position he plays in, because of course there was this whole discussion about having him on one side or the other side, or then through the middle, which he always said was what he preferred to do, and now he seems to have given that up and he's on the side. But you watch the game and there he is on his own in the middle with those chances and not quite able to finish them off. Now, didn't matter in the end, but there is this bigger issue of, is that the kind of thing that would matter if he's the guy who's there on a sort of permanent basis? Perhaps much better to have him just floating around in an attacking, very fluid team anyway when things are going well, and just see what happens, rather than feel he has to be yoked to a particular position, particularly when it seems he can't quite be relied on in that position. Yeah,
I think now the system we're playing, sort of Sanchez, Walcott and Iwobi are just sort of all rotating in those attacking positions. So Walcott isn't just restricted to far out on the right, or he doesn't have the sole burden of scoring the goals. So yeah, it's been a very positive start for him. And he was probably very unlucky not to go home with a hat-trick.
He was, yeah. I'm being slightly churlish because he's done all we could have asked for him pretty much this season. Yeah, a couple more goals would have been nice, but he's done very well, and it's quite a change we're seeing. But Roy Keane, who I'm not someone I always agree with, did sort of make the point a couple of weeks ago. He needs to do it for a few months, and I'd have to agree with him there. So we'll see how that goes. A word on the another birthday boy, I believe, on the day. I loved when you watch that move. It's great that he actually points to exactly where Sanchez puts the ball, and it's a wonderful finish. I hadn't realised how good it was until I watched it a couple of times. Just that great contact that he makes.
Yeah, the one against Chelsea may have sort of scuffed it. This one absolutely nailed it. No chance for Fabianski, but yeah, it was really clever. Sort of stayed on the back post. Sanchez's ball in, so it was sort of what we were saying earlier. Ozil was the striker, I guess, in that point, and peeled off. And yeah, great finish. And we were hoping that would be the game over.
Yes, you sort of think that might be it at that point. But mentioning Sanchez and Ozil was interesting because, of course, the other thing that's going on this week, just to deviate from the game just for a second, is this idea of them both wanting new contracts. And alongside that is this idea that money isn't really the factor, which I think is interesting because for Arsenal, that very often has been the factor. But it seems that, I know we're talking here about paper talk and reading between the lines in press conferences and things, but it seems to be that both of them want to know if Arsenal are going to be challenging for silverware rather than just the money. Now, I know players have always said that in the past, but I think they would possibly be using it as an excuse. I think now with the money coming in, the TV deals are just ridiculous now. I wonder if there's a slight tweak there where these guys know they're going to be earning loads of money wherever they go, and actually it genuinely is about winning something, or do you think it's still just about the cash?
No, I think with them it probably is wanting to know if we're going to be challenging. Maybe this season as well, but obviously with the uncertainty about who our manager is next year with Wenger's contract running out, I guess they want some assurances as to who's going to be in place, because maybe Wenger staying on or not staying on will impact their decision. So I think there probably are a few factors, not financially related for once.
Yes, it's a good point. Of course, I forgot about the whole Arsene thing being slightly up in the air. So, yeah, it's just I thought it was an interesting slight change of tack, because obviously other players have said it in the past, but we've perhaps been minded not to believe them, or maybe that's just me. But on this occasion, I'm minded to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, the only other amazing stat I had about the game, and I can't remember where I saw this somewhere, was Arsenal are the only Premier League team to have won more games and lost when when they've been shown a red card.
It's crazy.
I don't know what that means. I don't care to analyse it any further than that. But so yeah, if you follow that logically through, we should get a player sent off every game, and we'd win more than we'd lose. But I'm not sure that's necessarily a policy we should
Perfect.
should go for.
I'm not sure quite what that's counter-attacking. Guess just put some men behind the ball, but then we have the pace to go up front. I mean, maybe that's not really a stat to try and analyse. It's just one of those things.
Just one of those things. Sorry, we lost you again for a second there, but yeah, I think I know what you know what you're getting at. We'll see how it goes. I don't think we should rely on it, but
no.
I suppose it shows a certain mental toughness, which Arsene would like. That's one of his sort of things. So we'll go with that. But yeah, anything else to say on the game, or?
No, I think it's another one of we'll take the 3 points and move swiftly on.
I know. Well, since we did our first podcast back in August, they've all been positive all the time. It's almost like we're waiting for something to start going wrong, because we haven't really had any negative results since the Liverpool game. So
we started off on a wrong foot with that first podcast. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it every week.
Well, I think we've got ourselves out of that particular problem at the moment.
The time will come, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, well, November is nearly upon us, but we'll leave that for now, because obviously that's a traditionally tricky month for us. I had a couple of things. I'm not sure. Where should we go first? Well, it's Wednesday afternoon now, so let's zip on to the Ludogorets Razgrad game this evening. So Arsenal come into that at home. They've already got 4 points, top the group along with PSG. This is their third Champions League group game. Any thoughts on that?
In terms of team, I assume Xhaka probably will start if he's not going to be here for the next 3 domestic games. Do we rotate it a bit? I haven't heard anything from Perez and Giroud. Were they on the bench?
Oh, I can check. Good point. I don't know.
I haven't seen them anywhere, to be honest.
Yeah, the idea of rotation, certainly, that's something I should have sort of led in with that, because this idea that tonight is an opportunity, without taking them for granted, of course, to perhaps change some of the players. So let's have a look. So Lucas was on the bench for Arsenal on Saturday, but Olivier was not. El Neni, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Coquelin, Ospina, Gibbs and Gabriel were the other players on the bench. I mean, you'd think Giroud has to be at least on the bench.
If I was in charge, dread to think.
Okay.
If I was in charge, firstly, I wouldn't be playing Ospina. I would just stick with one goalkeeper, but I think we know Ospina will play.
Yeah.
I assume the defence will be kept the same, but then I'd probably give Cazorla a rest. I'd probably play Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think he's been pretty bright when he's come on recently. Would I play? Maybe I'd play Perez as well. What's that? 3 changes?
Yeah, that's. You probably don't want too many more, do you? In one particular.
Yeah.
In one particular game, so that's not bad at all. I'm just going to see if Ludogorets have won 4 of their last 5 games in all competitions. The one loss was the PSG game, so they look pretty handy. They've scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18. They've scored 19 goals in their last 5 games, including 1 in that defeat. They've scored 3 or more apart from the 1 against PSG. So obviously it's a different level. You assume the Bulgarian league to the teams Arsenal had to play recently, but we should be looking, shouldn't we? I know we've said this before, but this should be a hopefully relatively comfortable home win, and then we move on to the away game against the same opposition in a few weeks, and hopefully sort of seal a nice early qualification from the group.
Yeah, it's sort of one of those games where you hope you start well and get an early goal. Otherwise, sort of the longer it stays 0-0, the more confidence they get.
Yeah.
And then if they nick a goal, obviously you're in trouble. But I think that was one of the good things about the Basel game. We started really well, scored an early goal, and then immediately they're on the back foot. So hopefully we can do that again. And hopefully there won't be a stage around the 70th minute where they score from out of nowhere, and then we're holding on for dear life again.
And someone gets sent off in an irritating manner. So, yeah, let's hope that's not the case. Okay, well, we won't say too much about it now. I think we'll probably be better placed to talk about it next week when we've seen the opposition, because I don't think there's any shame in admitting we're probably not experts on them. No. And then, of course, before we play them again, when we'll have a bit more of an idea on the group. I'm going to be quite interested, actually. I'm covering the Arsenal game for By the Minute tonight, but I'm going to be quite interested in keeping an eye on the other game in the group, because I have this random, probably completely I can't think of the right word, probably not a particularly bright idea, but this idea that Basel might be able to take some points off PSG. I don't know why I'm even saying that in public, but I've got this idea that might happen, whether it's tonight or in a couple of weeks. So that will be interesting to see if that works out.
A PSG at home, or?
I think tonight PSG are at home, so perhaps tonight isn't the time to be suggesting it. I'm
pretty sure Ludogorets were beating PSG at one point.
They were. They did. Yeah. That's a good point. They did go 1-up before losing 3-1. It is in Paris, the game tonight. So yeah, maybe there's a chance there that Arsenal could be on their own at the top of the group tonight. Of course, it could go wrong.
Yeah.
But,
if not, I would still fancy it. I think compared to other teams we played in the group stage, I think PSG is certainly beatable when we play them at home.
Yeah.
In a couple of match days.
Definitely. Okay, well, we'll leave that for now, and we'll see where we are, because I want to get. We'll zoom through this pod today before we get another one up for next week. But before we do that, there will be another home game in the Back to the Premier League, and it's Middlesbrough, who have not had the best of starts to the season. Well, they had a good start in the first 3 games, I think. They sort of won and drew a couple or something, but subsequent to that, it has not gone well for them. So they're in the bottom 3, I believe, at the moment. This is a good chance for us to continue our good run in the Premier League, isn't it? Would it be 7 wins in a row if we can get?
I think so. I mean, I don't want to jinx anything, but Middlesbrough do look dreadful.
They do look poor. Look poor.
I think a lot of their Championship run was built on a solid defence, and they've sort of tried to recreate that this year and just play sort of defensive football. But when their defence has been proven to be not very good, it's a very risky tactic. Obviously, they were part of the much esteemed Super Sunday this weekend.
They were, yes.
Watford and Southampton, Burnley. So coming off of that, I'm pretty sure they lost to Watford. So yeah, it should be. I seem to be saying this a lot recently. It should be one of those games.
I know it's I just checked. They're not technically in the bottom 3. They are level with Stoke in terms of points. It's only goal difference that's keeping them out of the bottom 3 at the moment.
They're well on their way.
They certainly are. I mean, their goal difference is only -4 compared to Hull, for example, which is -12. Although obviously Hull's took a bit of a battering this weekend. I have to be quite careful, because a friend of mine, a guy I go to my local football team with, Cheshire United, he is a Borough fan. So regularly last season we were checking Middlesbrough scores as they were up at the top and desperate for every point. And so he was delighted when they went up, and I think knew it would be a tough season in the Premier League. Their manager also, of course, they had some odd stuff happen last season with Karanka, where he sort of appeared to leave and then came back.
Mm-hmm.
So you wonder if whilst that seems to have been smoothed out, you wonder how much stress there needs to be before that bubbles back to the surface.
Yeah.
But whilst I wish them no ill, it would be nice to put some goals past them this weekend. Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, Negredo started the season really well, but it's on a terrible run of form, which sets him up nicely, I'm sure, for a headed goal from absolutely nowhere at some point.
Yes, he's a player I always quite liked watching. But not against us. But certainly playing when I've watched him play, he looks very useful on his day. But it has to be on his day, I think. So we'll see how that goes. With any luck, it will be another 3 points, and we can put pressure on the teams above us. Of course, City and Spurs dropping points this weekend. So taking the slightly bigger picture, we're in a pretty decent position still. So if we can keep the wins going, at least for the next couple of games, because it's Sunderland away as our next league game after this one. And I think we should definitely be saying that's 3 points for that game. Or at least it should be if we're going to challenge for anything. So if we can get those couple, then of course it gets a bit trickier because at home to Spurs after that. But let's hope we can get the 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, we have got a nice run of fixtures. I was gutted to find out today that there is actually another international break not very far away.
I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm afraid I was aware of that. Yes, it's the week after the Spurs game, so we have Spurs and United home and then United away, and in between that is when we have another international break, I'm afraid. So to anyone who's listening who didn't know that, I feel personally responsible now you've brought it up. But yes, I'm afraid we do indeed have another international break.
Right.
Then I think we're okay until spring. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I think we're okay for a while then.
I mean, I was cheered up post international break when they released like the Christmas fixtures on TV, and you see matches every other day. More of that.
Yeah, there's plenty of that. That's an interesting point actually, because you probably like me, you get the emails from Arsenal saying we've had some games selected for TV stuff, and they're all league ones. But there were 6 Arsenal TV games in the most recent one, which I take to be a sort of good sign. It's like they're thinking, they're doing okay. Let's make sure we show a bit more Arsenal.
Yeah,
might not be a particularly scientific way of but I thought I'd mention that. Okay, so like you say, a decent run of games. We're in the middle of it at the moment, and so far so good in terms of the outcomes of those. So let's hope we can keep that going.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to. I had one other thing to mention, which really wasn't that exciting, but I thought I noticed it, so I'd mention it. This new pitch we've had installed at the training ground.
Yeah.
Did you see about this? So this idea is that this new pitch is, I can't remember all the technical gubbins, but basically the idea is it will stop injuries. By it makes it easier for players to turn and move or whatever without getting stuff, studs or whatever, stuck in the grass. So I'm not sure there's anything we can say about this. I guess we just have to wait and see if that actually makes any difference.
I mean, they have set themselves up for ridicule when in a few weeks somebody does a hamstring on that pitch through no fault of the pitch.
Yeah,
but it will just happen, and there'll be some physio expert on Twitter, I'm sure, who knows the science of pitches and will blame Wenger, but hopefully it makes a difference.
Yeah, there's that Dutch guy, isn't there, who's always blaming Wenger and other people for stuff. Mad. Okay, well, on that note, we will wrap it up. So thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you. Good fun.
Thank you. And yes, always good to catch up and to talk about Arsenal. And we will get this up now, so it's there for people coming home from work ready to get themselves set up for the Champions League tonight. And then let's hope we can get 3 points there and 3 points against Borough. And then we'll be back again next week. So thank you very much for listening, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Take care.